This podcast is brought to you by the Prospect Research Institute, where researchers come to learn, innovate, and connect.
This is something that I could really kind of get into, of working with a team and leading a team. And that makes me so happy. I love the research, but I also very much love leading teams. And I didn't know that I would be so passionate about that part too, and just love it so much.
Welcome to Prospect Research Chat Bites, a podcast by and for research and prospect management professionals. I'm your host, Jennifer Villa. Today's interview is part of our Career Curious series, and I'm thrilled to be talking with Devon Villa Gessert, Senior Director of Prospect Development at the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. Hello, Devon. Thank you for joining me today on Chat Bites.
Well, hello, Jen. It's so great to be here. I was thinking about when being here, and I was so grateful that you asked me to be here because I've been listening to your podcast, and I am grateful that you have this service for prospect researchers. Just really happy to be here and a part of it.
Perfect. Well, I sat back and I was trying to think about when we first met, and I couldn't figure that out. I know we have multiple social connections, and then I looked on LinkedIn, and LinkedIn said we connected in 2012. So it's been a hot minute.
That's a long time.
It is a long time. It's all good because we've had the best conversations. We've gotten to meet in person, which is a treasured thing these days. And I'm going to learn more about you today, I hope.
I'm excited.
So I would love it if you would share with us when your nonprofit journey began. Like, what was that like, and how did you wind up with research and prospect management?
Thinking back to where I started, the road to prospect research began with my my start in nonprofits at the National Catholic Educational Association. So at the National Catholic Educational Association, I started right out of college and started out as a public relations assistant. I then moved to Los Angeles and started at KCET Public Television and started in their development office in their major gifts department. And then moved to Atlanta. I mean, you're young, you move often, and you're exploring all these different opportunities, and moved to Atlanta and worked for the Atlanta Women's Foundation. But I will say that it was when I moved back to DC, my hometown, and I was, thinking about what do I want to do next? Knowing that I wanted to stay in nonprofits, I saw AU and I was like, that's where I want to work. I'm going to work there. And that's how I actually landed in prospect research.
That was what the open position was?
Prospect research assistant was what it was.
Perfect. And what happened? You got in there and you were like...
Yeah. So I remember telling my then boss, Chris Blackman, that I was like, yes, I've looked some people up before to prep for meetings that my boss was having. She was like, great, sounds good. And she essentially taught me everything that she knew about prospect research. And she left a little bit into my first days there. Abby Silberman Fagan came on board and taught me everything she knew. And so I was kind of taught by these amazing women who were just like, had been in prospect research for a while, and taught by them, taught by obviously learning the sources that I was using, and just sort of discovered that this was a whole kind of niche area of development that I had no idea about, but was yet so exciting, so interesting. I just really fell in love with it.
That's so wonderful that you had someone to show you. A lot of us that have come into research were solo, learning it as we go. It's fantastic.
Right. I appreciate when someone will, work with me and teach me, and I really learn well in that kind of environment. And so that worked very well for me, have someone sit down and teach me everything that they knew, and for me to go and ask questions and everything. And then, I discovered how unique this field is, because you can look at someone and just look into someone, research a foundation, and they're their own story. And that's what's so fascinating to me, is that we all know that individual or foundation or corporation that we look into is different, but to be able to look into it and dig into it and tell that story was like the best part to me, to figure out like what is cool about this person or this entity that I'm looking into. And then that was one thing Abby told me. She was like, highlight what's cool, highlight like why they're cool, like why we should be paying attention to them. And I was like, okay, that's my sort of goal whenever I'm looking into someone, like what makes them sort of stand out, because everyone has a story, everyone is unique. And so finding that piece that is interesting, that stands out to me as their like kind of uniqueness, is so fun to kind of unwrap and unwind and then synthesize in the data.
It got me hooked too, the stories.
Yeah.
I get to tell good stories.
Yes, exactly.
So along your journey in research and prospect management, I'm wondering if there are like key mileposts that stand out to you, or key transitions.
I think like when I was starting at American and learning in the beginning, that was really pivotal. When I became, I think it was 2005, maybe, when I became interim director, it was something that, and I don't know if ever anyone else can relate to this, but I was very hesitant to take that on, even as interim. I was like, that's not really something I'm interested in. I like supporting. I like being that person who is brainstorming with someone and saying, okay, I will take your idea and I'm going to go with it and move on it and make it come to life. And that's the thing that I really, really loved about my job. I love just getting in there and researching something. I wasn't quite sure what the director role meant, and I didn't understand it very well. But when I became interim director, that showed me that there was this pathway to strategy and really strategizing the work that's done and having a say in that, and having more of a seat at the table was helpful for me to understand my partners, understand my colleagues who I was working with, understand their work, like really, really feel invested in it. Not that I didn't feel invested before, but it gave me this sort of different viewpoint that I had not had before. And I think that kind of gave me a taste of like, this is something that I could really kind of get into, of working with a team and leading a team. And that makes me so happy. I love the research, but I also very much love leading teams. And I didn't know that I would be so passionate about that part too, and just love it so much.
Wow, that's awesome. Yeah, I can't imagine you being timid or apprehensive about taking a leadership role. I just don't see that in you now.
It's been a while. So it's been 20 years and a lot's changed. And it's so funny to think about Devon back, 20 years ago and how much I've grown. So yeah, it's a very different thing.
So tell me about your role now. You're Senior Director of Development. What is that? What do you love about it?
If I tell you what I love, I've got to go back a little bit from when I started. So when I started at LLS, it was an opportunity to build a department. And I came in as the only researcher with the knowledge that I was going to need to build a team of at least 4 researchers and a business development specialist. So 4 researchers to take on the individual and foundation research for 4 territories, and a business development specialist to work with our business development office. So the day-to-day of my first, I would say, year and a half was building the team, building the templates, creating all of the structure for the team when they came in so that they knew exactly what to do. They had the templates to follow. And I say templates to follow, but I still leave room for a lot of entrepreneurship within the team, because I want everyone to have a voice, everyone to share their ideas about how to build the team, but really wanted to set the team up for success so that they would come in, have everything kind of there and ready to go, like ready to, to start the research. So we built up our sources a little bit, hired the team and trained them. And now I've got this team of 5 people who are doing the research for LLS And now, as senior director, I was able to promote two of the researchers up to manager and then hiring three new positions to backfill two of those positions and one new position. So we'll be a team of nine. Hopefully, within the next couple of weeks, we'll be a full team of nine supporting LLS in their advancement, their business development, and their campaigns. It's been a whole kind of transition of building the ship and sailing the ship and now strategizing where that ship is going to sail next and really kind of figuring out the map and how we're going to get there to our FY25 goal.
It really sounds like if you're in research and prospect management and you have that ability to plan, not just to find information and synthesize it, but if making a plan and seeing where you could go gets you excited, then maybe a leadership position makes sense.
If they're like, I'm not sure I have that ability to plan a year out, 2 years out, that kind of thing, then asking yourself, do I like to work with people? Do I like to help people? Do I like to mentor, guide people in doing great things within research? I think that's something that I definitely also love as a part of it. Strategizing, it can be daunting. It can be so daunting because you're like, how do I get to that end goal? How does that work? And what do I need to do? And how do I need to do it? And I've been spending actually this morning going through a sort of pseudo campaign pyramid that I just sort of drafted in Excel and just trying to figure out, okay, so we need to raise a certain amount of money. How many prospects do we need? And it's basic math, but like that's part of our team goal for each person. And that's going to be new for the team. And I want to kind of slow roll it out to the managers to see if they're on board and getting their support. Again, trying to set everyone up for success and make sure that everyone is able to accomplish this. But that's what we were doing last year. We were really polishing off our prospecting know-how and really refining our method, so our methodology within prospecting, because prospecting for LLS it looks pretty different than prospecting for a university. It's not that different, but it is a little different. Polishing off that knowledge and making sure we have our methodology ready, making sure we have our prospecting template ready to go, making sure we've got the structure within Salesforce to collect the prospects and then count them at the end of the year, see what's happened to them and where they go, if they're qualified, disqualified, so we can refine our own process.
Yeah, so some teaching and nurturing as well.
Yeah,
for sure. So before I let you go, I'm wondering if you can share a great resource or a hot tip for anyone who wants to prepare for or improve performance in a management role.
I would say a resource that I've used is LinkedIn. I've used it because we get it free at LLS and we can kind of use it anytime we need. It's the LinkedIn Learning, yeah. And I've used that a lot with managing a remote team, which comes with its own sort of nuances and challenges. And I also, I feel like this is sort of of course, that's what you're going to do. I asked for feedback. I asked for feedback on my team and what do you need? What do you need from me? What can I do, differently? I've done that, I think, ever since I started, because I genuinely want to know what people are thinking. And that's sort of just my style anyway. I'm pretty straightforward. I like it when people are straightforward with me. And so I like to have those sort of back and forth conversations where someone is saying, I need this, or self-advocating, or I don't know how to do this. I need to learn it. Great. Let's figure that out. I want to support you in whatever you need. Yeah. So I would say the LinkedIn Learning and asking directly for feedback has been two of my favorite things.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining me today and sharing.
Thank you for having me. I so appreciated being here. I love being here.
That was Devon Villa Gessert, Senior Director of Prospect Development at the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society. To know her now, I'm amazed that Devon could ever have been in any way timid or unsure of herself. And yet, she was. But with a little push into a leadership role, she was able to see beyond her fear and discover her inner leader. I hope you were inspired by Devon's story too.